I'm Kelly Osley. I'm the Strategic Alliance Director for our Microsoft partnership here at Synoptech. I also spent about a decade at Microsoft myself. We want to thank you for joining us on this Becoming a Frontier Firm with Microsoft AI on this session. We're going to move past the buzz really around Frontier Firm and talk about how to truly operationalize AI into our business outcomes and doing that securely. We have a great lineup of practitioners that will be speaking with you. Prior to that, I just want to reiterate that the truth, really the honest truth around what organizations are doing with AI is that we're all on a journey, and most have done investigation, but very few have truly turned it into measurable business outcomes. And that's what we want to talk about. The experimentation period is behind us, and we really need to focus on business outcomes, which is the true mandate. Today, we'll show you what frontier firms do that's different, really. And that's at its core three components. That is building a strong data foundation, modernizing the digital core through ERP, and also unlocking workforce productivity with Copilot and Agentic AI. And there will be time for questions and answers. Through the chat here, if you'd like to enter your questions, we will address those at the end. But we look forward to this and hearing your feedback as well. I'd like to introduce our speakers, please. I'll start with Alice. Alice Newsom is our Microsoft speaker, and we're honored to have her with us today. She is a senior solutions engineer for AI business process at Microsoft, and she has over 18 years in engineering and nearly a decade in helping customers across North America put business applications and AI to work. From the Synoptech side, Manoj Nayar is one of our business or practice directors here at Synoptech, and he is the practice director for business applications with over 22 years in ERP and also software consultancy, and leads our digital core programs. Next, Shail Malpani Rathi is our practice director as well, but in this case, she is over business intelligence, and she has 25 years building enterprise BI roadmaps, data warehouse in cloud, on premises, and hybrid as well. And finally, and certainly not least, we have Bhavin Sunkot, and he is our practice director for workforce productivity. He focuses on Copilot, low code and automation, and helps us align technology to how teams actually work and are most productive. If I could, I'd like to take just a moment to have a poll with you all and ask you to just pick which area would be the most value for you in the next 6 to 12 months, right? Is that data foundation and AI ready insights? Is it modernizing the digital core on ERP, or is it workforce productivity with Copilot and Agentic AI? You might still be figuring it out, and you're certainly not alone in that. So if you just take a couple of seconds here and fill this out, we want this to be valuable to you, and we really want to help. So if you'll take just a second, fill that out for us, I'd appreciate it. And Alice, I'm going to turn this over to you, please.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kelly. It's great to be with you all today. And what we're seeing from the Microsoft side is that we're at a real inflection point in how work is getting done. AI isn't just improved productivity, it's fundamentally changing how organizations operate. Now, right now, there's a growing gap between business demand and human capacity. And the organizations that are closing that gap, especially with AI agents, are seeing significantly higher returns. And that's what really defines a frontier firm. It's not about simply adopting technology, right? It's about embedding AI into the business and how it runs day to day. These firms are focused on continuous improvement, not one-off projects. They treat data as strategic assets, enabling real-time decisions. And they use AI to augment people, freeing them up to do the high-value work that they were hired to do in the first place. Now, they also move faster, right? Spotting change early, testing quickly, and scaling what works, building governance and security in from the start. And the result is an organization that's more resilient, grows faster, and maintains a competitive edge, no matter the business environment at any given moment. Now, this is where Microsoft brings a real advantage. We're delivering innovation you can trust with security, privacy, and compliance and data control all built in from the start, right? It's not added on later. And most organizations today, that's kind of the state that they're in their journey, right? They're layering on AI onto disconnected tools, which really leads to that patchwork automation, missed insights, and inconsistent experiences. But with the Microsoft Composable System, you can design your business differently. In this scenario, we're focusing kind of on a service scenario. And what does that mean, right? It really comes down to three things. The first is that every interaction is connected, whether it's self-service, assisted, field service, right? Experiences are flowing seamlessly for your team members and your customers with shared context across every channel. Second, every system is integrated. Business apps, productivity tools, automation, even third-party solutions and investments are coming together to work as one platform with consistent governance and security. And then third, every insight is actionable. With unified data in Dataverse and real-time intelligence from Copilot, AI can reason, act, and continuously improve outcomes across the business. And the result, it's not just something easier to manage, which we all appreciate, but it's really a foundation for the future. It's one platform, one system, infinitely scalable AI, where you are in your journey, and it's built on the trusted Microsoft Cloud, moving you from fragmented effort to end-to-end impact. Now, research from Deloitte and IDC shows where leaders see AI in the enterprise today, but more importantly, it highlights why becoming a frontier firm now matters. The clearest way for me to help you see that is by going through some companies who are already making the shift. So let's start with Alaska Airlines. They were growing fast, but operating across fragmented systems. So they embedded AI directly into service workflows, bringing intelligence into the moment. And their result was planning time dropped 75%, engagement deepened, and guest satisfaction reached a 90%. So this isn't about, replacing people. It's really about enabling more meaningful customer connection at scale. Now, Levi's took a different angle. As they scaled direct to consumer, processes really slowed under the complexity of those scenarios. So they redesigned how work flows and embedded AI into those everyday workflows and processes. Their impact is work that once took up to a year, in some cases, now happens in a single day, which is just incredible, right? But really the lesson to take away from the Levi story is, don't bolt AI onto broken processes, right? Redesign the work and then accelerate it with AI. And then finally, Harding, this is a great example of what it means to kind of bend the curve on innovation. They transformed product configuration. They had some 27,000 different possibilities. And so it was like finding a kind of a grain of sand on the beach, if you were, for their customers. And so they transformed that configuration process with AI, allowing customers to describe their needs in natural language. And their result is that configuration time dropped 95%. Right? And what was the cause of, kind of the other benefit of that is that the innovation cycles shrank from weeks to minutes. And so this is the frontier firm shift in action, right? AI is embedded into the flow of work, driving better experiences, faster decisions, and really accelerating innovation at scale. So I've briefly covered kind of what, the consistent patterns that we're seeing from our customers and organizations across what a frontier firm looks like, right? But the real question is, what does it look like in practice? And so how do you as an organization go from fragmented data to real-time decisions, from disconnected processes to AI-driven operations, and then from the individual productivity to a truly AI-powered workforce? And that's exactly what we're going to talk through each of those pieces next. And so we'll walk through how these three levers come to life. As you listen and you watch through these areas, look for how AI is embedded directly into the flow of work, not as a separate tool, but as part of how the business is operating. So with that, I'll hand things over to Shale.
Thanks, Alice. Good morning, good afternoon. Now, before we dive deeper into the three frontier levers, we would love to have some idea about what exactly is your biggest blocker to scaling AI. Please go ahead and take this poll, as some of the options you see are data readiness, whether it is the fragmented data, silos in your organization, the legacy ERP systems, or the workplace governance, or maybe all of the above. Take a few seconds and let us know as to what exactly is the major blocker for you in implementing or scaling AI. And why do you do that? I'll tell you what we see across almost every engagement. These three blockers are not really separate problems, but they are kind of same problem wearing different hats. So the company that says our data is not ready, when you dig in, it's because they have got 15 years of ERP customization that is creating silos nobody can untangle. Perfect. All right. Okay. Thanks for taking that, Poe. And now let's talk about where most organizations are today when it comes to their data. And what do we see as we look into their data platform, their data ecosystem? So most of the organization today are dealing with a fragmented data landscape. They have accumulated a patchwork of tools over the years, which is separate system for data ingestion, warehousing, transformation, reporting, and data science. Now, each of these tool has got its own licensing model, its own skill requirements, and its own security configuration. The result is the data team spends the majority of their time on the plumbing and resolving the conflicts, that is the numbers brought forth by various department level analytics. Business leaders, on the other hand, are just waiting for days or weeks for the insights that should take hours. And the total cost of ownership keeps climbing, even as the organization struggles to demonstrate the clear ROI from its data investments. And until you fix this foundation, everything else, so to say, the AI, analytics, self service, is kind of built on sand. Now, this is where Microsoft Fabric comes in. And with Synoptics partnership, it becomes a game changer. Fabric gives you a unified platform that brings together all your ingestion, data engineering, data warehousing, Power BI, and one like as all the workloads under one roof. That means no more stitching together of 5 or 6 different services. The centerpiece is one lake where every workload reads from and writes to the same lake, which means you eliminate redundant copies of the data upfront. And that gives you a single source of truth with consistent governance. So every team, every department is accessing the same trusted data. And from the cost perspective, Fabric's pay as you go model for the capacities, you scale as you need, and you only pay for what you use. Now, when we help our clients with this kind of transformation outcomes, what we see is organization wide data democratization, but with the right guardrails in the place. So the governance does not go out of the window. And we see a cultural shift towards the self service reporting at every level, which is the business users are empowered to answer their questions without waiting on IT. And the time that is required from raw data to that of actionable insights, that drops dramatically. And with all this, you end up with an AI ready foundation or the AI ready data estate, which is built on domain specific data products. Now, how do we do this? At Synaptic, we walk you through a structured engagement path that starts with a data readiness assessment, understanding where you are currently, and then building a migration or, so to say, a modernization roadmap with a proven framework. So we get a Fabric MVP in place fast, so you can start seeing the value right away. And from there on, we provide you the ongoing managed services, optimization support, and finally, throughout this journey, there is AI enablement that is identifying and spotting and helping you leverage your clean, governed data foundation to actually drive the AI use cases that matters the most to your business. So the bottom line is Fabric is not just a technology upgrade, but it's the data foundation that is going to turn your organization into a frontier firm, one that is data driven, AI ready, and moving at speed. Now, let me show you how what actually it looks like when you get into the implementation phase. So here's a very interesting case of a global manufacturing leader that we were dealing with. And usually it had what a large manufacturer deals with: years of accumulated technical debt. That is to say, their analytics was completely constrained by a costly, hard to scale legacy data mart. They were close to 250 SSIS packages, pulling data from various sources, including CRM, D365, SAP, HANA, and whatnot. And every change was fragile. Every upgrade was risky. Now, on top of that, they had some manual workflows around the deployments and fragmented data sources that were causing sort of delayed and erratic reporting. Leaders could not get the insights in time and then could not act on them. So their existing data foundation was simply not scalable for any kind of AI or any kind of advanced analytics. Now, as the organization knew that they need to go for a cloud-based transformation, but they could not also afford to rip and replace. The business had to keep running. Now, how did we approach it? We started with a data readiness assessment and architecture blueprinting. That is understanding their landscape piece by piece across their packages, data marts, source system, dependencies, and the downstream reporting that the business relied on every single day. Mapped all of these aspects to fabric components, performed all the feasibility check with respect to the third-party dependencies, as well as the need for pushing the data to one of the CRM system and the legacy on-premises stuff. Based on this understanding, we did the architecture, blueprinting, and defined their scalable cloud-based foundation using Fabric's Lakehouse warehouse. And the key differentiator was that we did this without any kind of system change or a downtime. The business kept on running while we were modernizing underneath. Now, we implemented governed pipelines with automated deployments, turning what was a manual, error-prone data operation process into a repeatable, low-maintenance system. Audit logging, metadata-driven ingestion, everything was designed so that the platform could essentially run by itself. And finally, the self-service outcome. We migrated their data marts into the enterprise semantic models that enabled the business leaders to generate their own reports without depending on IT. So that cultural shift from file a ticket and wait for 2 weeks to I can answer this question myself right now, that's transformational. Now, how did we deliver? We modernized their packages into data pipelines so analytics could scale. We implemented metadata-driven frameworks so that new data sources can be added quickly without a custom development. They become just a configuration. We eliminated the dependency onto that of third-party sources like Kingsway software and in-house hosting and those legacy packages, consolidating everything into a fabric-based platform. Now that's massive reduction into the operational complexity and the cost. And here's where it gets exciting, the results. The query execution time improved by 50%. That means reports and dashboards that used to take maybe minutes now are available in seconds. The data ingestion and transformation, 40% faster. So that the data is not only just trustworthy, but it's more current. The deployment time became 60% faster, which means the business, when they needed new sources, new pipelines, or any changes to the existing one, it happens in days and not weeks. And they were enabled with near real-time Power BI dashboard. The leadership had the line of sight into the operation as things were happening, not hours or days after the fact. Now, this is what a fabric-led modernization looks like when it is done right. Not a technology project, but a business transformation. And this is the kind of the outcome we would deliver for every client that we engage with. Now, moving on next. So this slide talks about the entire playbook. The frontier farm is not built overnight. It's built on this 6 deliberate steps as a playbook. So the first step is, as I mentioned, unifying it into one lake. That is, eliminate your data silos. One lake, one truth, no more reconciling of the 5 copies of that customer table across the system. The governance is weaved in, that is, the security, the lineage, the compliance are baked in from the start, and they're not bolted on. And there is a faster time to data. How is that? With Fabric shortcuts, things like D365 Dataverse essentially are a zero copy single source of truth. So you get your operational data in minutes, not weeks with the ETL pipelines that take today. So that's the first step. Moving on, next is transformation. And of course, enrichment. Now, with medallion architecture, you have an opportunity to have a disciplined approach towards the data quality at enterprise scale at various layers. So bronze layer captures your raw data, silver cleanses, does the type conformance, deduplication, and the mashing, where the gold is the actual domain-based product that's business ready. And that leads to no more such conversations as to, I don't trust this report. Now, all of this definitely adds to your engineer productivity, the team who is on the ground. You are providing one platform for your use cases on lakehouse, warehouse workloads. And so your team stops switching the tools and starts delivering. All of this is going to definitely give you the reduced infra cost. That is with the pay as you go model with Fabric capacity, you are replacing close to 3 and maybe sometimes 5 of your licensed tools where you are paying individually. So that's step 2. Now, step 3 is about the real-time intelligence. All organizations have some form of real-time data that they may not be tapping into, whether it is your IoT sensors, your application logs, your transaction systems, maybe your telemetry data. All of this can flow through your event stream into your event house. These are all your Fabric-based components into the KQL database. And that gives you an opportunity to react in seconds, which is the AI-based anomaly detection catches the issues the moment they happen, not after the fact or after the last night's bad job. So you are not being into the reactive mode of handling the incidents. So this is leading you into proactive. The step that you need to do is identify the right use cases for the real-time intelligence workloads. All of this leads into live dashboards. The KQL powered dashboard show the real-time data, and your executives are seeing what's happening right now and not what happened last night. So that's very empowering. The next step is about the semantic models. Now that's a layer which is kind of a single authoritative definition to your metrics, every business metric, which is revenue is calculated one way, the right way. And every report, every dashboard, every team, and not only that, now every AI agent is going to pull from the same definition. So there's one metric, one truth. Revenue means the same to everybody. With lakehouse architecture and direct lake, there is an opportunity to directly tap into your data before it gets into even the domain-based products. So there is a blazing query speed possibility for AI agents. All of this in all brings AI-ready foundation. That is, your semantic models don't just serve your dashboards anymore, but they become the knowledge base for your AI agents. That's what the AI agent will look into. Finally, the steps 5 and 6, which are clearly differentiator and the game changer. Fabric IQ ontology that has been recently GA'd is the semantic layer that gives your AI business context. That is, without it, your AI agent may be looking into the data columns, like the column names of LOC ID or REV MTD. It has no idea as to what does that mean or how do they relate or what business rules apply. So you define your relationships. Say, for example, the stores contain freezers and freezers have temperatures, and freezers, those temperature variations affect the product quality, and product quality impacts your revenue. So your AI agents are completely grounded into your business entities and relationship. So they are not dealing with the raw column names, and thus they do not hallucinate. There is a shared vocabulary for your finance, operations, marketing. Every organization has got lots of tribal knowledge. The finance team knows that the net revenue may be excluding the returns, but including the shipping, while the marketing says the revenue includes everything, and so on and so forth. There is an opportunity to have a shared vocabulary on which you have the agents working. And all of this when done right, are domain-based products or models which enable the self-service analytics. Every employee asks the questions in plain English and they get the governed answers in seconds. This is definitely going to get a lot of time from your analyst, as you will be able to handle 80% of the ad hoc questions. Can you pull this? Can you extract this directly? And thus they will be able to put their heads onto some strategic work. Now, with all this, what I have to sum up is the platform exists today. The only question is, how fast do you move? With this, I will roll it into the next part of our webinar to my colleague Manoj. Thank you.
Thanks, Shell. Quite informative, quite helpful. Uh, Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. I hope there is nobody from India side, but still good evening. Okay, let's pick up from where Shell had been discussing about the fabric gives the governance. Alice said that AI ready foundation, right? So the next natural question is, what do we do with this foundation in the core business process, right? That's where Dynamics 365 comes. And an interesting, I was just reviewing the poll results. It's interesting that nobody has ERP as a blocker, which is good to hear, right? And then initiatives for the six. My only thing is, what does a digital core mean? And the whole purpose of this webinar is to just show how Synoptech and Microsoft are aligned in terms of having it more as a part of the digital core, right? And majority of the clients that we have been working have the manual workarounds, disconnected ERP, MES, CRM, warehouse and finance data. Finance always has the problem of the closing cycles, which are slow, and the operational team still work on Excel, even if they are having the ERP, and the decisions are after the fact instead of to the moment, right? What's Microsoft saying about it, right? And as Alice had said, that Microsoft roadmap is moving in a very clear direction, right? It means connected ERP, data, productivity, and AI layers. That's the digital core. So the ERP or the Dynamics 365 is not just a transaction system anymore, right? It's more of a unified platform that can support end-to-end integration across the different business work streams, right? It sits with Fabric for data, Power Platform for automations and the workflows in place, and the Copilot agents to enhance the productivity and decision making. So for a frontier firm, the goal is not to just add AI as a side project, right? Like using the Copilot Studio or ChatGPT ID. No, the goal is to make the digital core intelligent enough that finance, supply chain, and all the other business areas can work with the same truth and act faster, right? This is where Synoptech aligns ARP and the AI focus. How do we do it, right? We start with an AI ERP assessment, not just looking at the business processes, but aligned with the three major core that's a part of this webinar also, that is data, fabric, Power Platform, and the AI. So a practical roadmap, because the implementation has to be also tied with the business outcomes. And then we modernize the core cleanup, govern the data, connect the Microsoft ecosystem, and enable AI in place. So what's the big message that we wanted to provide on this slide? The digital core is becoming the control center for the frontier firm. D365 gives the operating background, as Shell had said. Fabric gives a foundation, data foundation, and then when Bhavin covers his platform side, it's that extensibility, and AI becomes a layer that helps people to move from manual follow-up to the intelligent execution. And to that, the next slide, we would be talking about one of the example. So this case study is a good example of what a frontier readiness looks like in the real world, right? The client It's in the chemical manufacturing, having both process and discrete manufacturing. The bigger challenge, the acquisitions that they were doing and the growth through those acquisitions. On paper, growth is a great problem to have, right? In reality, every acquisition brought in is more processes, more entities, more master data variation, and more of the operational complexity. The challenge is not just with the legacy ERP, right? It's more about the fragmented operations. They had the warehouse problems, which was not tightly connected to the ERP. A lot of the processes were manual, and the lack of real-time visibility, the reconciliation issues, and the exception handling took more effort than they should. So the time they spent in supporting the system was more in terms of the operational side of it. The Synoptech approach was to build a modern digital core with the different work streams from the D365 aligned with the customer engagement, the data side of it, and the Power Platform. We consolidated almost around 30 to 35 warehouse operations that they had into the operating model and focused heavily on the integrations and the data governance. The last part, when I say last part, we had to first stabilize it, and then we went into the AI and looked at the automation use cases that were there, and we would be touch basing on one of the use cases that we already have as an IP, and then taking care of the data side of it. So ultimately, the result was not just a technology upgrade, right? The ERP landscape, the digital core became a growth enabler. Leadership could look across the business more consistently, focus more on the strategic side of it. Operations had the visibility, thereby increased productivity and operational efficiency. And as you see, the number tells the story, right? 15% revenue uplift from the faster and more accurate fulfillment. Better reconciliation, which used to take them multiple days, was reduced to 1 day using the AI side of it. 15% inventory optimization just because the counting became much faster, the replenishment becomes much optimized, and the 20% lower operational overhead. I think we have put other numbers. Um, the casual way to say it is that the warehouse stopped being a bottleneck and started becoming a lever for their growth, right? This is a kind of the shift Microsoft ERP and AI roadmap is designed to support, and it is where Synoptech focuses on a practical implementation rather than just abstract AI demos. With this, we would transition to the next slide where we would be showing how Synoptech leverages and adopts the agentic AI. Yeah, I think don't try to even go through. It's very small, but this slide shows what happens after the foundation is placed, right? We can start moving with from the frontier readiness into the real frontier operations. The key point here is simple. AI is not, and this is more of a warehouse use case. Uh, can you just go to the previous one? Can you transition? Yeah. So this is mainly for the warehouse. AI is not replacing the warehouse, right? It helps the planners, supervisors, and the inventory answer users to get the answers faster. So what you see over here, which is zoomed, is the agentic AI that we have built in that is integrated with the inventory warehouse management. What the warehouse people used to do before was extract the data into Excel, do a reconciliation, get a response to it. How AI helps is this is an agent. What you see on this screen is the warehouse planner or the inventory person can use this AI to query the AI, whether it is sales order, whether it is inventory, whether it is whatever, right? And the next screen that you are going to see, can you transition to the next one? Is the response that agentic AI gives in a minute, right? What it saves is that the person did not use go into the handheld device or into the ERP application, try to find where the menus are, where the options are, put a natural English query, and you get the results on this. So what it does, it saves a lot of time. There is a personal assistant that is provided, right? So the purpose of showing it is that how it helps the team is they get the quick answers every day, right? From a Synoptech perspective, this is where our focus aligns very closely with Microsoft roadmap. The D365 process, we leverage Copilot Studio agents for the user experience and the trusted underneath using the Microsoft MCP servers that are there. The business value is also very concrete. We can reduce manual inventory tasks, lower stock out occurrences, forecast accuracy. The exact numbers will depend more on the quality, data quality, and adoption. And that is where Shell's team helps in terms of ensuring the data quality and the availability of the data, right? But the directions is clear, the faster decisions, fewer expectation. So the overall message on this slide is that once ERP and the data foundations are in place, AI can help different work streams to build this agentic AI to be more predictive, more faster, and rather than being just focusing on the Excels, have an exceptions based operations, and Synoptech is working over there. And moreover, Synoptech is also working as a partner and aligned with Microsoft to transition its IP accelerators to more agentic AI. And as an example is this use case where just shifting from the business side, how is Synoptech as a partner providing those benefits to its client, right? We are trying to expedite our implementations across the clients, and the way we do it is working on the uh, implementation accelerators that are there, right? So what you see over here is the two IPs that we have built. On the left, what you see is more where in a normal work, our technical people used to build those technical designs, right, manually. Based on that technical design, somebody would review it. Once it's reviewed, the developer would develop it. So what the IP on the left that you see over here is the AI code assistant that takes the technical design document and custom instructions. It uses the D365 metadata and generates the code. So what used to take like a 4 hours job or a 6 hours job to build the code, we utilize the technical documentations, and within a 15-20 minutes, there is the base or the draft version that is shared. And then on the right side, what you look is the other tool where the reviews had to be done, right? So different clients have different standards in terms of the coding. Microsoft has its best practices. There are uh, platform updates that come from Microsoft. So how do we take care of it when we do a code review? Rather than depending on the person to take all those into combinations, what we have done is we have built an AI assistant that would review the code. It would match it against what Microsoft suggests in terms of the platform updates, what the client's expectations are in terms of the development experience that is there, and also in terms of what the best practices are, and comes up with a detailed review of the code that has been provided to it. The benefit, the benefit is the speed, right? And also consistency. There's a standard unified way of doing it, right? It also helps in reducing our overall development by 25 to 30%, which cascades into the different implementation phase. So the larger message is that AI is not only changing business operation, Synoptech is also applying AI to the overall delivery model itself, helping client Move from the frontier readiness to frontier operations faster with stronger governance and lower implementation rate. With that, I would just stop and hand it over to my good friend Bhavin, who has been waiting for his slides. Hey Bhavin, over to you.
Thanks, Manoj. Uh, Quite informative. Uh, how exactly we can use the agentic AI into the ERP. Good insight, Manoj. Uh, Welcome everyone, and thank you for taking the time to join us today. What I want to share with you over next few minutes is what we are seeing across the enterprise right now. AI is already showing up inside most companies where finance team are quietly passing contracts into shadow AI tools. To summarize it, sales engineers are drafting proposals from the personal accounts. CISOs are losing sleep over the data exposure, and CIOs are still working out where to begin and then scale. So these are not four separate problems. They are one situation showing up in four different areas, and that situation is the real starting line for the frontier firm. The question is no longer whether to adopt AI, because your employees answer that for you when first time when they open the shadow AI tool. The real question is how you make AI official, governed, profitable before shadow AI become your board level incident. The way to get to a frontier firm by standing up what most enterprises are today calling an AI center of excellence, which is the operating functions that holds your strategy, your governance, delivery together. So AI scales as a one coherent program rather than the series of pilot or series of agents across the different work streams. Over the next few minutes, I will share that the AI Center of Excellence, how exactly it look like in the practice, and how one global manufacturer built in 6 months. So in this slide, if you can see in the first box, we have laid out those four patterns side by side, because each one of its own center of excellence problem to solve. Starting with employee are already using generative AI without governance and often without the visibility. Tenants are quietly overshadowed because years of data sprawl. And Shell has provided very good insight around the data. Data sprawl, data quality is one of the major risk and issues nowadays before we implement the AI. Loose permissions means sensitive content in one prompt away from exposure. One of the good one, leadership is demanding, do AI now, but just not do AI now, do AI now at scale. Yet no one has identified first use case that scales or the ROI number that they can defend. And the last, in most every executive briefing, the line which I hear is forget about the agentic AI. Just help us make generative AI safe and official first. If that sounds like your boardroom, what you need next is clear AI center of excellence model. When you make AI official inside your company, two things shift at the same time. One, shadow AI gap closes, AI moves out of personal account and into your governed environment, Microsoft 365 Copilot. Agentic AI builds you an AI workforce alongside your people. The Microsoft Agentic AI platform is what makes this real enterprise scale, because it let you deploy govern autonomous agent across your business unit. I think Karan, we are still on the slide number. Can you please go to the slide number? The previous one. Yeah. The previous one, please. Yeah. So we are still here, like how Copilot and agentic AI can change this. So what makes both of these shift work is that governance come built into the platform itself rather than added on the later. Identity, access control, compliance, responsible AI operate alongside the Copilot and agent. So what you are adopting is the governed AI framework for your enterprise, not just another productivity layer. Now, frontier from outcomes. So 3 outcomes matter to this room. Shadow AI goes away because the official paths become better than the unofficial one. ROI show up in months rather than the quarter. And the enterprise ending up with the foundation that scales from your first agent to enterprise-wide wide deployment without replatforming. A frontier firm is what company look like once human are doing the judgment work, agents are doing the orchestration, and governance is keeping it secure. Now, how exactly Synoptech helps helps the partner? This is where Synoptech comes in. We stand up your AI Center of Excellence on Sequence 5-stage operating model. Briefly, I will touch base on this 5-stage, and then we'll jump into the case studies I will talk about in detail. So the first one, strategy and readiness, is where our Copilot and Agentic AI assessment and readiness framework and ROI estimator will tell you exactly where to start. The foundation and governance is where the security, identity, oversharing fix close the shadow AI gap. Responsible AI framework keeps the platform accountable. This is the good one. POV to production. You might have heard about the lot of POCs around the AI, but how to scale it from POV to production. So deploy the kind of a deployment that includes the phased approach, starting with the proof of value is where Microsoft 365 Copilot and the first AI agent proves impact in weeks, and then you can scale to the production. Adoption and enable. This is one of the major area where we need to focus while implementing the agentic AI or Microsoft 365 Copilot, where role-based training is essential. Adoption turn into the outcomes across your business unit. And sustain and evolve is where ROI framework and governance cadence keep the operating model secure as it grows. In the next slide, is what that AI Center of Excellence actually look like when it runs for 6 months at a real customer. So this is interesting case study. What you are about to see is not just Microsoft 365 Copilot or Agentic AI project. It is the AI Center of Excellence blueprint, sequence through all the 5 stages which I talk about in 6 months at a global manufacturer with multiple geography operations, a multilingual workforce, heavy contract volumes, sensitive data in finance, HR, and legal. The company wanted to use generative AI officially, but had no clear path. And that hesitation was creating real risk every day because their employee had already started exploring public AI tool, and sensitive content from finance, HR, legal was one prompt away from leaving the company. Leadership wanted a sequence answer, make generative AI official and safe first, and then build into the agentic AI journey on top of that foundation. I have covered the solutions and outcome in next slide in AI COE roadmap style. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Karen. So here what you see, the AI COE we run with the every customer, it start with the strategy and readiness. So we started with, for this customer, we started with the strategy and readiness is where the assessment, readiness snapshot, and the ROI estimator gave them their first defensible numbers. The foundation and governance is where the technology, architecture, platform selections, identity, access control, oversharing fix, close the shadow AI gap before we roll out the Copilot or before we scale into the agentic AI. Proof of value to production is where Microsoft 365 Copilot and then the first AI agent proved impact in weeks. Adoption and enable is where we have imparted role-based training and simulations turn licenses into the outcome across the businesses. and sustain and evolve, because once the implementation is done, the good part is they sustain and evolve, and that's also a critical part to scale. So sustain and evolve, where the ROI framework and governance cadence keep the operating model secure as it grows. So if you can see here, the entire project implementation, keeping the center of excellence in center, the entire playbook is repeatable, and it works because it's a center of excellence and not just one project. So if you talk about the outcome, the after rollout, three major things change for this company. Generative AI becomes the official with all the governance, guardrails, and all the safety measures and parameters. Employees stop reaching for shadow AI tool because the sanction path was now the faster path. And the company walk out with the clean, governed foundation that runs straight into their agentic AI journey. So that they are not starting over when they take their next step into the agentic AI. If we now look at the numbers here, by deploying the Copilot and agentic AI platform and some of the use cases that we have automated around the agentic AI, and the client has achieved 200% ROI, approximately $450,000 in annual saving, and 30% faster contract preparation. The contract preparation was one of the pain areas that they wanted to solve using the agentic AI. Can we please go to the next slide? Thank you. Now look across the slide. There are some of the agentic AI use case we have developed and deployed for our client. This is not the comprehensive list. We have highlighted here some of the key agentic AI use cases, but it spanned from HR, legal, finance, supply chain, sales, recruitment to logistics. So it covers the vast range of the business function. Every one of these is a function in your business, and every one of these is a place where your knowledge workers are losing hours every week to repeatable work. And all of them are live, deployable, and built on the same governance, Microsoft Foundation, we just walked through. This is what a mature AI center of excellence produce. Humans staying in charge of judgment and direction, agents handling the execution at scale, and your governance framework making sure nothing goes off the rail. The frontier firm is the name we give to your organization once the center of excellence has been running long enough for this scale to compound. Now, with this, I would like to thank everyone. So thank you everyone for the time that you have given me today. I appreciate you joining this conversation. I will now hand it over to my colleague Kelly, who will share how to start with first step actually. Thank you.
First, thank you, Bob, and thank you to all our speakers. And Alice, a special thank you to you for teaming with us today and representing Microsoft for us. So as we move forward, we want you all to, we recognize you took in a lot of information today, a lot, and it can be confusing. So we'd like you to know, first of all, you're not alone. We're here to help. And hopefully you have a bit more clarity on how you might take the journey forward. What I'd like to say is we will offer all of the participants here a complimentary 60-minute workshop, really custom to where you need it the most. You can scan right here to take this poll and determine which of these might be the most applicable to you, or you can also just pick right here which is the most valuable and where you'd like some help. So while you're doing that, I'm going to tell you just a little bit about Synoptek, as we've been speaking to you for close to an hour here. So Synoptek is a global managed experience provider, an MXP, right? And we focus on helping organizations modernize operations and drive measurable business outcomes through technology. We have the advisory, AI, cloud, data, cybersecurity, digital transformation, and of course, managed services all together in sort of one integrated model so that you're not stitching all those components together from different vendors and that is more of a headache to you. So we offer that. We've got about 1,200 plus clients across the US, Canada, and India. And we combine that global scale with focused local accountability. And I think what truly sets us apart from other vendors out there is this advisory-led approach and then AI-enabled operations and this relentless focus on proven outcome-driven results, because that's what really matters, right? And then the engine behind everything you saw today from that's the engine behind everything you saw: Fabric, Dynamics, Copilot, etc. So one more thing I'd like to make you aware of that's upcoming before we open up for questions, and I truly hope you have some for us, we'd like to hear from you, is that we'll be doing a second session on June 24th. And here's the information here that you can scan and register for. We'd love to see you there. It will be a live panel discussion. And if this session resonated with you, I think it might be valuable to spend a little time with us to dig into this a little bit deeper. And it will look at what becoming a frontier firm means for ERP, workforce productivity, and Fabric. That is, again, on June 21st at 9 a.m. Pacific. So if you can attend, we would love it. So from that, we'd like to go to questions. We'd really like to hear from you. So it looks like I'm getting one question here. I'm going between two screens here. Do we need to move all our data into Fabric, or can it coexist with what we have? Shale or Manoj, that might be for one of you guys, or Alice, feel free to jump in as well.
Yeah, I can take that one.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a very good question, actually. Yeah, and that single most important misconception about Fabric. So if you have got your data into any kind of data platform that's you are using Databricks, Snowflake, Oracle Data Warehouse, Dataverse, you can use that, and it coexists with that of Fabric. So coexistent meaning OneLake has something called as shortcuts. So they are a kind of a zero copy pointers. And so you can create a shortcut to your ADLS Gen 2, your S3 buckets, your GCP, your Dataverse, and so on and so forth. Even you can have your on-prem SQL Server gateway. So you don't really need to move everything into Fabric. Fabric kind of becomes a layer where you will want to put something that you want as a unified intelligence, where you want to see your data across governance, semantic models, ontology, and agents. So that's where you would want to have unification, but you don't really need to move everything that you have. There are opportunities to use shortcuts and your existing investment into any of the sources. So that's where it gets faster and quicker to get everything unified. I hope it answers your question.
Great. Thank you, Shale. Do we have any more questions? Okay, this one just popped up. We already have Copilot licenses. What do we do next?
Yeah,
Bob, does that fall under you, sir? Or
Yep. I can take this up. So once we have the Copilot license in place, the next sequence is straightforward. Inside the AI COE model. So first we need to run the tenant readiness check, because most of the organization have years of permission sprawl, and that may expose the sensitive content before we deploy, after we deploy the Copilot. And second, we need to build an adoption program with the role-based training and small number of high-value use cases. So we need to get into the agentic AI. So that will help us to get into the agentic AI. And the last one, which is third, once the Copilot is official and adopted, layer agentic AI on top of. So high volume, repeatable work moves to agent while your people focus on the judgment.
thank you. We have one more question. For someone considering ERP modernization, where would you start?
Yeah, quite an interesting question, but Synoptech, as I had already covered, that it definitely should start with an assessment about your core operation, assessment about your data, assessment about your platform, right? And assessment about what the business objective is in terms of whether it's productivity, and then transforming them into the AI workflows that are there. So once we do that, it helps to build a good solution blueprint, a roadmap for the next 3 to 4 years, right? Because most of the CFOs, CIOs, and CEOs, they want the answers, right? What's my ROI? What's my TCO? When would I get it, right? So I think that assessment helps you to get those answers in front of your leadership so that those decisions are more business driven rather than IT driven.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that is our last question. I'll give it just another second or two in case one pops in. Thank you. So I guess we don't
Thank
have
you
any
all.
more. Just fair. Yeah, thank you all. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your trust in Microsoft and Synoptech. And if you will notice at the bottom, there is a contact email. Please reach out if you have a question, maybe you didn't want to bring it up here or you had to drop or popped on late. Feel free to reach out to us. We're here to help and we'd really like the opportunity. So with that, I bid you adieu. And if you're in the US, I hope you have a wonderful long Memorial Day weekend.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, everyone.
Thank you so much.